some sounds over here? All right, okay. So, welcome once again to the much anticipated UMUGiFEST 2025 Industry Forum. Yes, please give a round of applause to all of you. All right. It's wonderful to see all of you here today. I am Anand, your MC for this exciting afternoon. All right, so we all know we have gathered here to explore a topic that's more relevant than ever. Designing the future, human-centered innovation for health, cities, and societies in the age of AI. I know it's very long topic, all right? And we also have a lot more to explore in this topic as well. So, please get ready for an inspiring and thought-provoking session ahead. So before we kick things off, a quick note for everyone. To ensure a smooth experience, kindly switch your mobile phones to silent mode, and please do minimize your movement in and out of the hall as well. And at the back of the stage, also please tone down your voice over there to allow the discussion proceed smoothly. Now, without further ado, it is my absolute pleasure to invite our esteemed panels to the stage. Please put your hands together for Dato James Foo, Investor, Chairman, and Co-Founder of Authority Advisories Dirberhat, Mr. Tevan Naidu, Senior Management from Accenture Malaysia, and representing our student community, Ms. Kuhanita, a student from the Faculty of Arts and Social Science, and Mr. Isaac, a student from the Faculty of Science, who will be guiding our discussion today. With that, I would like to formally hand over the stage to our moderator, Mr. Isaac, to officially commence the UMUGiFEST 2025 Industry Forum. Mr. Isaac, over to you.
Mic test, testing 1, 2. All right, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon and welcome to the Industry Forum of UMUGiFEST 2025. Thank you so much for being here today. My name is Isaac and I am honored to be your moderator this evening. First and foremost, a little bit of background on myself. I am from a biochemistry background, studying in the Faculty of Science, and today I'll be here to facilitate the discussion, which brings us to our theme, Designing the Future, Human-Centered Innovation for health, cities, and society in the age of AI. Human-centered design is an approach to systems design and development that aims to make systems usable and useful by focusing on the users, their needs and requirements, and by applying human factors, ergonomics, and usability, knowledge, and techniques. In this context, this means ensuring that AI enhances human well-being and societal values. According to Deloitte Insight 2024, 11 billion weekly work hours in Asia Pacific is being reshaped by generative AI, and 81% of students and 62% of employees are already using AI tools. This brings us to the most critical question of our discussion today. Are we as a nation ready to guide this transformation to ensure that it remains truly human-centered? This is the question this forum seeks to address. To unpack this theme, we have with us 3 distinguished panelists. First and foremost, to my left is Mr. Tevan Naidu, who is the head of senior management at Strategy and Consulting Division of Accenture Malaysia. He's an expert in AI strategy, technology policy, and city-scale digital transformation. His insights will focus on AI strategy, responsible innovation, and aligning tech with sustainable business goals. Next, we have Dato James Foo, who is a serial entrepreneur and business mentor with over 2 decades of experience, working shoulder to shoulder with SMEs, startups, and underserved communities across Malaysia. Through his work at the Authority Institute, he advises businesses on transforming operations, building sustainable systems, and preparing for a future shaped by technology. But what makes his insights especially valuable today is his commitment to inclusion and to ensure that innovation and AI don't just benefit the urban elite, but also the forgotten majority, which is our micro entrepreneurs, informal workers, and the B40 communities. Today, Dr. James will be inviting us to reflect on whether the future we are designing is truly for everyone and what it takes to make human-centered innovation genuinely inclusive. Last but not least, we have Ms. Kuha, who is from the Faculty of Social Sciences in University Malaya. She's a policy researcher and advocate focused on outer space governance, youth empowerment, and equitable access to innovation. She brings a fresh, youth-driven perspective on inclusive and responsible AI policy. Now, without further ado, let us start with this discussion. Okay. So let us first begin by ascertaining what human-centered innovation truly means. To begin, Mr. Steven, from your perspective as a renowned corporate tech leader and being involved in numerous city-scale digital transformation projects, what does human-centered innovation mean to you? And why is it important in today's rapidly evolving AI landscape? Thank you.
Yeah, a very good afternoon to everybody here. It's an honor to be here at University Malaya, surrounded by the future change makers and also alongside two very inspiring guests, Dr. James and Ms. Kohanita, who represents the energy, purpose, and diversity that we need in Malaysian innovation, right? And before I answer your question, this stage actually brings me a nostalgic event. I mean, about 35 years ago, I was in this stage representing my state on a national level competition. So after 35 years, I never thought I'm going to be on this stage here again, but I know, it's just happened.
Welcome back, welcome back.
Thank you. So when we talk about human-centered innovation, especially in the age of AI, I believe we must begin with one fundamental truth, right? Technology should serve people and not the other way around, right? As we reflect on the promise of AI and innovation, one thing becomes increasingly clear. Technology today is no longer just about speed or efficiency, right? It's about empathy, ethics, and also inclusion. And nowhere in this more critical than when we design systems through touch human lives. Whether in healthcare, urban planning for smart cities, or governance. In my work, especially digital transformation and shaping corporate technology strategies, I've seen in firsthand, real sustainable impact only happens when innovation begins with empathy, right? Before we deploy any AI tools, automation platform, we need to first deeply understand the people we are designing it for. How is it going to help them? What is their needs? What is the behavior or aspiration that we are trying to address? Because innovation is about it's not about what technology can do, but what we are trying to change in people's life, right? So that is one most important thing, right? And too often, I mean, when we talk about smart cities, it's always been portrayed about like grids, sensors, even surveillance and AI systems optimizing traffic. But smart doesn't always mean wise, right? A city becomes truly smart when its systems are designed with a focus for people, right? And AI isn't just about predicting traffic patterns, about enhancing mobility for elderly person with disabilities or informal workers, right? In some cases, AI-driven tools are helping government improve disaster response, create safer public spaces, and even expand healthcare access for underprivileged communities, right? So this human-centered design in action, just building for efficiency, but we need to think it's being built for dignity, accessibility, and resilience, right? So, so beyond cities, right, in the corporate world, we can see government agencies, banks, telcos, and healthcare providers using technology not just to drive growth, but also to deliver the social goods, right? So, I mean, in a nutshell, I guess that's what the empathy needs to be there when you are bringing in technology elements to deliver something to the people, right? Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Stephen. Empathy is the crucial message here. All technological innovations involving society should be driven by empathy. Now, zooming into the Malaysian landscape, Dr. James, from your work with SMEs and underserved communities, what does human-centered innovation truly look like on the ground? And how is this relevant to our society?
Thank you for the question. I'm just curious, in the people on the floor over there, how many of you actually use AI? Hands up, even on the stage, use AI in any form. Right? So, second question, right? How many of you are actually, you don't have to raise your hand for this one, but you're actually B40. How many of you actually are B40? You know who you are? I can see you not nodding your heads, right? Now, when we say human-centered, I like to think right now is Mr. Steven actually covered my entire speech already. I got nothing to share. I wish I went first because he took the real good stuff. But I've got a little take some gold nuggets for him because I noticed some of you were not actually listening. But I would recap. Okay, number one, how to be more human-centered is number one. Is the AI accessible? How are you making AI accessible? And when I say accessible, it's not just about affordability. Accessibility also means, can I actually touch it? Can I actually use it? That's called accessibility. A lot of people on a B40, even M40 right now, they know about it, but they don't have access to it. Number one, accessibility. Number two, do you understand it? Truth be honest, even the gurus, the greats, the geniuses, even the godfather of AI right now says he doesn't really know where AI is going. But for the B40s and the M40s, right? Do you truly understand? And the word I want to reiterate, like what Steven said, was empathy. We need to create more products, more softwares, more services with more empathy. Do we truly understand the need? Like example, I love to go to Pasar Malam. How many of you like to go Pasar Malams? You all like Pasar Malams? Right, so I try to go to all the Pasar Malams because I'm trying to see what's new there, right? And I've learned so much with them. And I understand that most of these B40s do not understand how to use AI. They work really, really hard. That's the second thing. The third thing right now in AI, how to make it human-centered is it even usable? Let's be honest here. Most of us will use 80% of AI and we use ChatGPT and we say, I'm an expert in AI. Correct? Or they say, no, I don't use ChatGPT. ChatGPT is very basic. I use DeepSeek, Perplexity, I use Claude. Yeah, that is actually a tip of the iceberg of AI. So when we say human-centered, do we cover these three things? Is it accessible? Do you understand it? And then is it truly usable for the context? I hope that answered the question. Back to you.
Thank you, Dr. James. Yes. Accessibility, literacy, and is it usable for everyone? That is the core tenets of human-centered AI innovation. This brings us to our next question. What are some practical examples of tools that are human-centered right now in practice? Mr. Steven, can you share any digital solutions that demonstrate human-centered design, especially in your corporate or national innovation projects?
we have touched about smart cities, human-centered design. So AI can be used for various digital solutions, right? And it can be applied in smart cities, healthcare, and these are the primary two things that even in Malaysia that we are doing at the moment, right? If you look at healthcare, so we are talking about humans and also designing a solution for some of the most critical illnesses that we see. So there are things like what we call as digital twins, right? Where we can re-image the entire human body to diagnose or to see what are the illnesses that can be cured, right? And there's even for genetic related diseases, there are AIs that can be applied to find solution for these long outstanding medical mysteries that we have, right? So there are very good use cases and also benefits that, especially in healthcare, that can be deployed using AI. So these are part of the what we call as human-centered design to solve many of the problems that we have. So all these starts with empathy, right? Technology and empathy, right?
It all goes back to empathy. Thank you, Mr. Steven, for sharing on the digital solutions in healthcare. To Dr. James, coming to the grassroots level communities, what are some practical examples of AI innovation among the grassroots communities?
Just to be clear, when we say innovation, it's always misconstrued with the word invention. Okay, so I just want to take this a level up. I say this most of the times to most of my clients, even to my students, right? Your definition equals your direction. If you do not define the word properly, you tend to be going into a really haphazard manner. So when you say innovation specifically, I think Steve and I will probably have a long debate for a few hours. But during the time that we have, what are some examples that on the grassroots? I think go back to the Pasar Malam, right? So when I go back to Pasar Malam, like I've been there since I was a child, and I won't tell you my age, but I'm pretty old right now. And I realized that a lot of things have not changed in Pasar Malam. True? How many of you agree? Nothing much has changed in Pasar Malam, right? Not much has changed. But there's one particular Pasar Malam that actually came on the newspaper. It's every Monday in PJ, right? And during pandemic, this lady was struggling to find sales. And what she did was, she just turned on her ring light and she did a TikTok live. All she did was a TikTok live, and she added something called WhatsApp list. Like she added a WhatsApp broadcast list. And any orders you come in, she just keeps it in. Can you imagine what happened to her sales? I'm like wondering how much sales can you do, right? And I actually went to the auntie and said like, hey, makcik, ada cari banyak duit dah? Dia cakap, ayo, budak-budak, I nearly 3 to 4x my sales. Just by turning on a ring light and using WhatsApp. That's it. So that's one little innovation. Number 2. Now, I don't know how many of you like to eat, but notice I mentioned food a lot. So one of my good friends in my NGO that I chair is called JCI, right? Junior Chamber International. And she's actually doing a catering business. And she's been struggling with catering for a long time because there are a lot of caterers out there, a lot of competitions, right? So if there's a lot of competitions, what can we do? There's nothing much we can do apart charging cheaper price, offering more variety. What else can we do? There's nothing much we can do. So she came to us in the NGO, and what we did was we actually had a little program for her, leveraging her, teaching her how to use AI for her catering business. And she said, catering business can use AI, really? I said, yes, as simple as what is some innovative thing can you do? I said, right now, do you even study all your clients using ChatGPT. Just summarize your clients. Your best clients, 20% of the client pay you 80% of your income. Why are you not focusing on them? Instead of trying to serve 200 clients, why don't just serve 20 clients? And when we actually did that, she was just like, aha, oh my goodness, why don't I just focus on the 20 clients? And guess what? She actually doubled her price, reduced her clientele, and still made more money. Second case study. A case study of ours is a small clinic. So a clinic in the rural areas, somewhere in Penang. So they do a lot of, something like a GP, but you know GPs nowadays are very competitive. It's very hard to find a differentiation. Everyone doesn't want to get sick right now. After pandemic, everyone wants to be healthier, they eat healthier, they take care of themselves. So the GP business has really gone down. So what can they do? So they're trying all sorts of ways to sell other things. And I told him, you know what? You can't really sell other stuff. And some GPs actually do network marketing, which I said, not kind of cool because actually it's quite misleading, right? So I told him a simple thing. Is there something you could do right now with AI to actually solve your problem? And he said, how can AI help our doctors? We are already fixed to sell certain drugs by certain pharmaceuticals. There's not much say we can do. And we told him a simple thing. Right now, what is your biggest challenge? He said, I don't have enough clients walking in anymore. More people are healthy. So what I do? I said, very simple. All you do right now is have a little automated process that actually give reminders to the clients doing medical checkups. Number one. Number two, even give reminders for follow-ups. And then number three, for those who have issues, do you even store them? And he goes like, yeah, I have it all on paper. I said, we are past the time of paper. If you put it into a little Excel sheet and just throw it in, do some deep research and find out what sickness do they get at what season. You could target better, store your medication better. And he said, I'll try. Long story short, because he just ran this program, he just used WhatsApp broadcasts just to remind the patients to come back every 6 months, every 1 year, every or so. 2.5% increase in terms of the retention rate. They don't go to other clinics anymore. They come back to his clinic, not our clinic, right? Because he feel like doctors really don't really care. And this doctor is kind of weird. After I see you, you still call me, you text me, what's going on, how are you? And they were surprised and they went back, even though some clients are further away. So that's a third case study. I could go on, but I think right now is, are we truly leveraging AI to the next level? Not for the greater good of the top 20%, but can we focus on the 80% of the whole Malaysian market, where right now, to be fair, SME runs the world. I don't know if anyone knows this. Small, medium enterprises run the world. 90 to 99% of the world population are run by SMEs. And SME employ 40 to 80% of the world's population workforce. Now, why are we not supporting them? So, more examples. I'm here today, actually, I want to listen more to Devon. Because I saw you took a lot of good notes. But bear in mind, I think each and every one of you, it is a UMUGiFEST, right? Think of things that are so simple. You are actually thinking too hard. I was walking past the booth and I saw your ideas are great, but are they great enough for B40s, M40s? Think about that. Back to you.
That's right. Thank you, Dr. James. That's the pressing question right now. Can we use simple tools to make AI accessible for everyone, to upskill even the micro entrepreneurs, to upskill their businesses, and to make sure it's inclusive? But this vision does come with its challenges. Ms. Kuha, in your experience working with students and youth, what are the main social or systemic barriers to accessing innovation? And how do infrastructure, policy, or digital gaps affect youth participation?
All right, thank you so much. I think I've been writing notes from Mr. Devon and also Dr. James. They've given very good examples of how AI can be utilized from a perspective of business owners and how they would be able to provide services, right, for the B40, M40 groups and so on. I think it's really amazing. And it sounds very simple, but very effective at the same time. So allow me to come in a little bit with the perspective of the people who are using the AI, the services, the goods that are being provided from the end of the businesses, right? The end users, you and me. So how do AI actually, what are the barriers that are affecting our access to it? So, 97.7% of Malaysians have access to the internet. So our internet penetration in Malaysia is actually very, very high. Almost the entirety of the population is able to access the internet anytime, anywhere. However, is it truly anytime, anywhere? I think all of us can agree, even while living in KL, we're not able to access the internet consistently and also reliably. So even in if you're standing at different parts of you get different access rates to the internet. For example, if you are in, let's say, the library, your access to the internet may not be as strong as, for example, you are in Dewan Tunggu Chancellor, right? So in that sense, when we are using systems that rely so much on the internet, and we would need to, for example, purchase data to access it when Wi-Fi doesn't work, how truly inclusive is it really? So the systems, we may know how to use it, we may be exposed to it, we may know where to go and get it. However, without that connecting factor, the internet access, we're not really able to utilize it to our benefit in the end, right? So that's just like one part of it. Cost is one, location another. But there's also another factor that I think a lot of people overlook when we are using artificial intelligence, especially generative AI, which is language. So if you've noticed, the prompt that you put in to generative AI systems really matters in what output you get from those systems. So the more complex, the more specific, the more accurate your prompt is, that is what you get from the generative AI system. So it doesn't matter whether it's ChatGPT, DeepSeek, any kind of generative AI platforms that uses language learning models, LLMs, they really depend on language usage to be able to access it. So for the general Malaysian like you and I who speak English, who are able to write in English, we would be able to utilize it to our benefit. But what about the people who do not have that high of an English language proficiency? Or what if their first language is not English language, right? They have a more prioritization on, let's say, Bahasa Melayu, or they have a more prioritization in any other language other than English in which these generative AIs are working on. When they put the prompt into the generative AI, like ChatGPT, in Malay, in Chinese, in Tamil, does it actually come out with the necessary information that is able to get them the information that they need, or subsequently access the services that they are using? So that really boils down to like how much of AI is truly enhancing the common person's quality of life. So our skills, our daily struggles, how much of AI is actually accessible to us, and how much of it can we utilize if we are not in that top 1% that has the education, that has the access, that can afford to learn and use and be able to utilize it to its maximum potential, right? So there's currently a rush to develop AI for high-end applications. So trying to use it for businesses, so on and so forth. But the common person like you and I, what do we do with AI? We use it for answering our assignments. We use it for generating PowerPoint presentations so that we would be able to have more time for ourselves, or we'd be able to move on and do other work. But then how much is it truly enhancing our quality of life and our knowledge consumption as well? It's just generating and regenerating the information that has already been available to us in the internet. So it's just a loop, but it's not really contributing, I'd say, to our quality of life. But hopefully we see a trend in change later on. Just giving you an example, right? Telemedicine. It's something that's new and upcoming. A lot of countries in Southeast Asia are trying to utilize it, especially to give access to healthcare for rural communities. However, the rural communities cannot use telemedicine, especially when it comes to AI, because they just don't have the access to it. So, for example, in slums, in rural areas, deep in the jungles, how would they be able to actually access the subsequent services after using AI? So, you have your phone, they're able to access telemedicine on their phone, but then after that, what about medicine prescription? What about follow-up checkups? What if the problem requires them to go to a hospital? All of these things that come after what AI can do is what is important, but a lot of the policies, a lot of the innovations, and a lot of the solutions that are being developed, they don't think that far ahead. They stop at the AI-centered solutions, but the problems after that falls onto the onus of another stakeholder to tackle. So we do need to really look at that as well. So I'll continue later. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Kuha. So some of the barriers that you have listed are cost, location, language, and lastly, access. Mr. Theven, if you may, what are some of the challenges that you have observed with regards to AI innovation?
I guess, people talk about will AI replace jobs or what I'm doing, right? The answer is not as simple as yes or a no. It could probably replace some boring jobs, some repetitive jobs, and some jobs where you are ignoring your KPIs and blaming it on the printer, right? Joke aside, right? And the real answer, as I said, is not as simple as a yes or no. And let me give you a context, right? I think Kuha brought up a very good point, like the LLMs, large language models, right? And we are now actually entering to a very new era, right? Era where generative AI and in particular LLMs, large language models, are not only technology trend at the moment, but they are reshaping the way we work, the way people in the industry do their tasks, complete their tasks, right? And we have a study done, and in most of the industries, be it retail, utility, energy sector, banking, telcos, the total work time is actually language-based. It's LLM, right? And when it's language-based, there are high probability these tasks or these jobs can be replaced by generative AI, right? They are potentially transformable by a Gen AI, right? And this will absolutely change the way we are doing our work, right? And but whether it replaces them or redefines them depends on how we prepare, how we respond, and how we reimagine our work. And I guess, and this is not the first time we have faced a wave of technological disruption, right? We have come through industrial revolution and even the rise of the internet, right? And we lost some roles, yes, but we also gained entirely new industries and professions, and that no one could have predicted, right? And the same is happening now with AI, right? AI is automating routine tasks, but it also augmenting human capabilities, freeing us up from rudimentary works to a more high value work where where the humans are needed to solve more complex things, and you need more creativity and meaningful work, right? And of course we talked about earlier, we talked about the smart cities and also the healthcare, right? So I think it all depends on how we are preparing, and how again this generation in the hall, right? Preparing yourself to the future.
Thank you, Mr. Theven. Now on to Dato James. what are some of the biggest challenges and barriers that prevents AI from being inclusive across communities from all backgrounds?
It's a very good question, actually. I think the first thing come to mind right now is need versus want. Now, how many of you know the difference between need versus wants? Hands up. You know the difference, right? Needs versus wants. Only one, and the rest of you I don't really care. Two, right? Two. So excellent. Thank you for participating, right? So the difference between needs versus wants, if you could draw, this is needs on one side and wants on one side. The gap, the word that I put in between needs versus wants is called greed. G-R-E-E-D. The larger the gap between needs versus wants, the larger the greed. Now I'm telling you one thing, whether you agree or disagree, the fact of the matter is we are only serving, or AI is only serving maybe a top 20% of the world population, at best, at best. And the rest of us, some of us, or even most of us, do not know what AI is. And for a few of us, we have the wrong idea what AI can really do. Now, I see 4 things that could help bridge some sort of gap. Number 1, garbage in, garbage out. When we first use AI, how many of you are actually throwing lots of rubbish in and see what can come out? You're testing it. And every time you throw something inside, guess what? It jumbles up and gives you back what you don't want, right? Can you imagine now that is stored forever? Like your childhood photo that you posted and your mother posted on the Facebook, and then now it will forever be found. So the garbage is so much in AI right now. Can you imagine the quality of response? So that's number 1. Number 2, for it to really work, the person looking at it has to go through rudimentary, very basic training. Otherwise, if they skip this step, imagine I don't learn to walk, I don't learn to crawl, I just learn to jump. I only do what I like to do. Can you imagine what type of AI quality will happen in the next, give or take, 10, 20 years? That's the second thing. The third thing right now to bridge the gap, apart from just using it, is we don't have enough power. So in the US, they need 90 gigawatts of power to pump through all the data centers to give you a reasonably good response or reasonably good photo. Because today, when I type my photo, I saw Steven has a photo, he generated AI, and then I type my name, James, and I press. The photo does not look like me. I assure you, I put my photo in, I said, generate this photo. It does not look like me at all. I don't know why. Maybe I'm not good in prompting, I need to learn from you. But the fact of the matter is, we are still way, way, way past. But in Malaysia itself, we are not spending enough focus on the right things to bridge the needs versus wants gap. And I see a lot of companies right now doing with the startups, the money sign is massively big. Right? And that's why when Dr. Serene and UM invited all of us here, I said this is the best way to start. This is the best way to share, because business is not just about profit, it's about progress. When there's real progress, when the whole country moves, then there is real progress. We don't want to be left behind. Malaysia is left behind compared to a lot of other countries already, right? But I believe right now, since we're in the right place, really do consider those gaps make a big difference. And if you can focus on those gaps, that would actually matter day after day. Back to you.
Now on to our last question. What can be done today to ensure human-centered innovation remains human-centered in the near future? Ms. Kuha, if you would take this.
All right, thank you so much for the question. I think it's a really important question for us to ask, right? What kind of future do we really want? Allow me to flip the narrative a little bit on this question. So you mentioned about designing an AI future that stays grounded in human-centered values, correct? So it's not we shouldn't be focusing on AI futures, but rather we should be focusing on human futures with AI as tools to help us enhance how our futures are going to be like. That is how we begin with actually designing human-centered policies, innovations, structures, and anything else that comes in our future later on. So Dr. James talked a lot about the environment as well, right? So energy consumption, of how the AI really requires a lot of energy. In Malaysia itself, we estimate that by 2035, we would need 5,000 megawatts and potentially an additional 11,000 megawatts to actually be able to compensate for the energy that data centers use. However, this is about 40% of what we currently produce in Peninsular Malaysia. So this provides a very, very big, responsibility on energy production as well, and also a lot of negative impacts in the fact that our energy consumption actually mostly comes from fossil fuels, which are very polluting to the environment. So that just goes to show that we still haven't really figured out how to use AI responsibly and to be able to sustain that AI for ourselves in the future. So at certain points, we might find a lot of roadblocks in it. So I think we could always go back to when AI first came out. The Montreal AI Declaration of 2017 actually outlined 4 principles that I think are actually still very relevant today in how we should be approaching AI and how we can integrate it into our futures. So they have 4 principles. The first is diversity inclusion. The second is prudence, responsibility that needs to fall back onto the humans, and also sustainable development. So these 4 principles are actually very much relevant to us today and how we should approach, designing policies, designing innovations that are human-centered with the assistance of AI. So I think one very useful way in which we can approach this is through community-based or community-centered designing. So a lot of times when we talk about this, we say, okay, let's do a survey or let's have, some interview sessions with the community. However, that just means that you would have some biases, or it would only reach the people who you are giving the survey to, or who you're calling for interviews, or who you're actually asking, people in the circles that you know. However, there have been a lot of different ways in which we can actually integrate communities much more effectively in how we plan. So my background is on policy design and how we can use policies and make sure that it is more inclusive and beneficial for the communities. So one very interesting case study that I've seen in Japan when I visited the Onikuru Center. It's a community center which was exclusively designed by consulting the entire community of Ibaraki City. And how they did this was they had multiple 100 people town hall sessions. So they just gathered open sessions, 100 people to come in and criticize the policy design, come in and criticize how the community center is being developed. And the government took the initiative to actually look back on those feedback and be able to create a community center that is truly what the people want. And up until today, they have a very, very good rate of people who come and visit and do activities and use that community center. Now, I know community centers are not the same as AI. However, the approach of it, how governments, how stakeholders can engage to better make sure that these solutions that we're coming up, whether it's AI-centered or not AI-centered, are what the people truly need and want. So looking back at what Dr. James said, right, need versus wants, we could say, from a policy researcher perspective, we would think that based on the research that we have done, this is what the community needs. However, until we actually ask every single member of the community, until we look at the different perspectives, we wouldn't really know what they need or what they want. So I think that's all from me on this. So community-centered design.
Thank you, Ms. Kuha. Now on to Dr. James. What can we prioritize today to ensure human-centered AI in the near future?
I have a lot of conflicting thoughts after listening to Tivan and Kuha now. I love him a lot. He whispered in my ear, let's find a middle ground. So, okay, here goes. Okay, I'm going to wing it, and then you can boo me if you like, okay? It's only one time Dr. Siri will invite me here again. Run me by the question again, so make sure I don't lose it.
What should we prioritize today to ensure human-centered?
Okay, so what should we prioritize? I like to use the acronym for everyone listening here. Can we do a CARE? I think, can we care a little bit more? To be honest, I'll take it from Kuha here, to saying that the fact that right now, a lot of us on our mobile devices, not just as a student, as a teacher, as a instructor, even if you go to the malls, security guards, police officers, we are all behaving in a very silo base. We are stuck in our own little world, which is our mobile world, whether it's an iPad or whatever devices you have, right? So the first one is community-based approach. If we can meet up more regularly, design more conversations, and have a dialogue. Dialogue is two ways, right? So that's the first one, I think C. Business owners right now are lacking that conversation. Business owners right now, whether is it B40, M40 or T20s, in that areas, don't spend enough time. They don't have the tools to go out there. They're just working till they drop, right? So AI is a bit like a saving grace, but they don't have a community to fall back on. Like speaking to a lot of business owners, I realize right now is they don't have someone of a similar level to talk to, and they actually befriend their AI. And I said, be careful. Whatever the AI tells you is not 100% correct. So be mindful what it says. They go like, but it makes good sense. I said, from where the data is coming from, legitimacy, because the source is important. So the first one is C. Second is A. When you actually talk about AI, are you accountable, not responsible? That means the buck stops with you. Whatever you put in, be more accountable right now. Because a lot of people right now, some of my staff are actually, we call keyboard warriors. They are just spamming stuff, throwing in stuff that is just absorbing. AI needs more information to process. And the more you throw in, just like our ocean, there's more rubbish, right? So I think the second one is A. Can we be more accountable? And then R. R is, right now, AI needs to be relevant. We need to make sure AI works with us, not for us. Most of the time right now, we are creating tools and we're like, now use this. Instead, can we work together with the community, with accountability, and make it relevant for the B40s, M40s, if you like. And the last one is E. Like it or not, especially the B40s, they are not being educated enough. So as policymakers, I urge Kuhan to pull some nice cables. The fact of the matter is right now, the government, even big conglomerates, MNCs, don't work together enough to push that real lever about helping real B40s. Could we actually create more, simple like our NGOs right now, are trying to have what we call moving vans. They actually teach backs of how AI can be used. Or as educators, can you create bite-sized information and send through WhatsApp or send through just Telegram? All this will help all these micro SMEs. Not SMEs, yes, 96% of Malaysian SMEs is a lot, right? But can you imagine, almost 70% are micro SMEs. And they are the ones that really need help to combine. So, if I could just reiterate right now, take what they both said. We need to be inclusive. We need to be accountable. We also need to be able to communicate more dialogues like this, because now we still have time. For some of us believe AI will take over the world like Terminator movie, right? But for some of us, I think instead of trying to control AI, can we create the guardrails and let it flow? Because you can never control nature. Nature always wins. And with that, I pass it back to you.
Thank you. Mr. Steven, would you like to add on to this?
I guess, I don't think so we have a big conflict, James. As you said, there are times that people work in silo, but I guess in this aspect, a success of the AI is not only about the algorithm or the compute power, but the ecosystem it's being built on, right? It's again the ecosystem should or must be inclusive, sustainable, and strategically aligned across the sectors, right? And we are facing a growing AI skill gap, right? And this is across the different groups that you have mentioned, right? And not just data science, but in areas like AI ethics, applied AI engineering, and domain-specific expertise, right? So what do we need here, or how do we address this, right? So if we look at it, academia, the universities, right, must go beyond theory, right? And it starts from the future generation. I keep telling the future generation, the change makers here, right? Embedding the real world AI use cases, ethics, and problem solving into the curriculum, right? And of course, the industry comes in hand in hand, right? Must co-create these programs, right? Working with academia, offering internship, which we do, and mentorship, and also maybe live projects to students, right? And the third component here, of course, the government must fund and scale any national reskilling programs, targeting not just the elite few, but also the underserved communities, which is very key, and vocational learners and mid-career professionals, right? And think of Malaysia as a version of in the US you have the Bell Labs, and also in the UK you have the Turing Institute, where real world problems meet academic rigor, right? And this coordination can bring real benefit to everybody, to the individual, to the every organization, and also at the national level.
Thank you, Mr. Steven. Strategic collaborations are very, very crucial. Now, we do have time, so I'd like to open up the floor for a Q&A session. Audiences, please pay attention. If you have any question to raise to our panel, please raise your hand, and our moderators would run to you with the microphone. We're opening the floor to Q&A. Let's go. I see a gentleman on the left. Mr. Cairo.
Testing.
Hello.
Hello.
First of all, thank you. My name is Abdul Hadi. I'm from Electrical Engineering from University Malaya. My question regarding AI and its use in our modern society is that one of the harms that AI can bring is misinformation, where if you go into, for example, ChatGPT, one of the texts under the prompt is, AI can make mistakes. But there are so many people among us that would take every sentence that ChatGPT or any AI give out as the truth. And I've seen people from even in the industry believe AI more than their engineers. So my question is, what are the things that we can circumvent this issue of trusting what AI says as the truth, and to remember that we have to proof check everything that it gives, basically to mitigate misinformation when using AI. That's my question.
Thank you. Dear panelists, just to rephrase, what are the guardrails that can be put in place to circumvent the problem of misinformation by AI? Dr. James, if you will.
Probably need another session over here, an hour to read and debate about it. Just to answer a short question, a very difficult question. It was a very compounding question. It was not just one question. You actually squeezed like 4 or 5 questions in one. Just to let you know that, okay? It was not an easy question. So the first thing comes to mind is, how do we use AI more responsibly, if you will, or with better integrity? So my framework in my mind will be this. 3 things. Number 1, when we think of AI, the person using it, do we practice what we call critical thinking? Most of us think of something, we just flush it in, right? We don't really care. So there's no thought process of planning it out. So when it comes to critical thinking, 3 things comes to mind. Who is the message for? What is the use of it? And when will this be addressed? So the first thing we talk about in critical thinking, try to address this one area. The second area, when we talk about how to manage AI better, will be the second part, which is communication. AI requires us to ask better questions. We are in our culture, Malaysian culture, me included, we are spoiled by getting answers, and we are horrible at asking good questions. So AI requires to ask better questions. That's the first thing. The second thing, if you can ask good questions, then do you give constructive feedback? Can you imagine right now on most social media websites, on the Google review, like I have an eco resort, and if you like durians, I invite you to come. And every time I ask a Malaysian to give a review, they always say, good, baik. When I ask a Western, a Japanese, or an American to write a review, you know what they say? Oh my God, it's amazing. They write a whole paragraph, but Malaysian culture, thumbs up, thumbs down. Keyboard, all the pictures. There is no, imagine AI trying to understand that. So, number 2, when we talk about communication, is there constructive feedback? Is there ability to ask good questions? And the most importantly right now is context versus content. When we communicate, we don't talk about the context, we talk about the content. And the most important thing that I feel 9 out of 10 of most, whether is it government, business owners, even educators, miss out is the fact that they do not take into consideration domain expertise. Can you imagine right now, Mr. Steven is the one that pumped in all the information into the AI, and you are using his AI. How powerful will be his AI be versus my AI? There's a very huge gap, right? So the third one will be is the domain expertise is important. Now when it comes to domain expertise, 3 things come to mind. Number 1, do you have a methodological method, a scientific evidence-based approach to get that answer? Number 1. Number 2, do you have a process of getting what I call a moral compass, if you will? The benchmark. What is considered a good answer? Because right now it says that ChatGPT says, do not trust us 100%. There may be some, don't take it 100%. But all of us do take 100% because it's better than us, we feel. So the second thing right now is, what are you doing with it? And the most important thing that I feel the gap of right now when it comes to domain expertise, is this individual still relevant? Right? The last thing you want is to be sitting down in the coffee shop, in the kopitiam, and listen to all the old uncles saying, when I was young, I would have done this. Now AI is relevant. Now is the content you're using relevant? So with these 3 in mind, I think I won't be able to solve 100% of that problem, but I would dare say you solve 70-80% of the issue of misuse, of misguidance. I hope that helps.
Thank you, Dr. James. Mr. Steven, would you like to add anything to that?
So, yeah, I guess you need to understand AI is a training model. Again, it's a LLM based, which I spoke about it earlier, right? And that's the first thing. Second thing is, it's not to replace your critical thinking, right? It's to augment the answer or the feedback that you're trying to get. So at the end of the day, you need to apply your judgment, right? And the data, the training data that most of us use now, which we are using now, it can be different from many aspects, socially, politically, culturally, right? So to address that, one of the initiatives that we as in the government has taken is we have our own NAI or National AI Office, where now the framework, the governance is being built, right? So again, for me especially, it's not to replace my thinking process. So the way you prompt, the whatever feedback you're getting, you need to maybe challenge it and also verify it, right? Okay.
Thank you so much. With that, our forum has reached its end. So to conclude, AI must be equitable. It must be born of empathy. It must be accessible. The people should be educated in order for AI to augment the people and the workers across all backgrounds. And lastly, strategic collaboration is needed as guardrails for AI innovation to truly remain human-centered. On behalf of the UMUGiFEST committee, I would like to thank our dear panelists for their input. Thank you so much. Everyone, please give a round of applause to our committee. I'm sure everyone has learned a lot from this discussion, and I hope, it is our hope, that the younger generation would take this knowledge and do something good with AI and keep it human-centered. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Test. All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Isaac, and also a big thank you to all our panelists as well for the insightful and intense discussion. I had few words, a community, policy, okay, a lot of words going on over there, and I hope our audience as well have gained something from the discussion as well. Now let's move on to our appreciation ceremony. To proceed with this, we would like to invite Associate Professor, Technologist Dr. Sri Devi Ravana, Director of Center for Integral Learning, accompanied by Dr. Serin Leong, Head of Industrial Training and Elite Networking Division, to present the tokens of appreciation. To our panelist and moderator, kindly remain on the stage for a group photo at the end. First, we would like to invite Dato James Fu. Please give a round of applause to Dato James Fu for the insightful discussion as well. Next, Mr. Thevanaidu. Once again, please give a round of applause. And Miss Kuhanita. Wow, we have support from Miss Kuhanita. And last but not least, Mr. Isaac, the moderator of the forum today. A big round of applause once again for all our incredible speakers and moderator. Thank you, Dr. Sri and Dr. Serin, for presenting the tokens. All right, everyone on the seats over there, please gather at the middle of the stage. We are going to take a group photo at the end as well. All right, everyone, don't go yet. We still have a group photo at the bottom of the stage over here. So please do gather at the middle of the stage. I don't see anyone moving. Why? Dah letih ke? Lepas intense discussion tu? Okay, and we will also show the QR code as well for your attendance, for your internship preparatory workshop. Please do scan that as well.
Baiklah, diminta untuk semua bangun untuk kita mengambil gambar bersama.
Jadi
Diminta untuk rapat ke tengah.
Jadi kita minta para hadirin yang berada di dalam dewan untuk rapat ke tengah dewan bagi sesi ambil gambar.
Baiklah, dalam kiraan 1, 2, 3. Okey, seterusnya freestyle. 1, 2, 3. Okey, the last one. Semua buat jari satu. is one. Okey, terima kasih diucapkan kepada semua.
Para hadirin boleh kembali ke tempat duduk masing-masing kerana kita akan teruskan dengan agenda yang seterusnya.
Baiklah, diminta kepada semua para peserta untuk bertenang berada di dalam dewan. Kita akan teruskan majlis kita sebentar sahaja lagi. Jadi diminta untuk semua terus berada di dalam dewan dan boleh melihat semua digital pameran yang ada di sini. Terima kasih.
Together, but you hurt me so much, and I had to leave you.